being number one. It's working up to being the number one player in the position, the number one player.
Tied on tight and ready to go. Final suit fitting for Ndamukong Suh. That's one heck of a suit. You do not buy those off the rack. The Nebraska defensive lineman.
It's been a long one. Ready for it to be over with. Know where my new city is. Find out where I'm going to be for the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully.
Ndamukong Suh, Gerald McCoy, those are the defensive tackles. They are the top-rated players on the boards of Mel Kiper and Todd McShay. This is this morning as those guys. The Detroit Lions pick number 2. Let's assume Sam Bradford goes number 1 to St. Louis. Is Suh at 2 a no-brainer? Mel, let's start with you.
Mike, I think he is. You pick second, you got to get either the best player in the draft or the second best player in the draft. You can't get the 5th, 6th, 7th best player. And Ndamukong Suh, I think, is the best player in this draft. You look at the 85 total tackles. I went back 30 years. Now, a defensive tackle that was more productive across the board was Cortez Kennedy. That's it. So I know we've had a lot of bust Todd at defensive tackle. I don't think Ndamukong Suh will be. He's a good fit for the Lions, and he can come back in the early second round, address the running back position, maybe with an electrifying all-purpose guy like Javid Best.
University of Nebraska, defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh. From Georgia Tech, wide receiver.
Thank you. So the Rams have made their decision, and now we go to the green room where it's been kind of speculated in most mock drafts, or in many of them, Ndamukong Suh and Gerald McCoy, the defensive tackles, and rarely do you see defensive tackles. Didn't say defensive ends. Defensive tackles go in the top 5. Well, Detroit 2, Tampa Bay 3. Suh on the phone. We'll see what that means. Meanwhile, that's McCoy, hoping, wondering, and Mel, the difference between these two, and I'll get Coach in on this as well.
I think when you look at it, boom, you look at Ndamukong Suh, a powerhouse. This kid is a powerful defensive tackle, 32 reps at the combine. You look at a kid who really comes hard play after play. If you look back at the history of this position with defensive tackles who were bust, you can find games where they let down and they did not give it their 100% effort every play. He did. I think you look at the versatility of Ndamukong Suh, the fact he's a state shot put champion in high school, great athlete. He had a 36.5 vertical. McCoy had a 30.5 vertical. Suh did 32 reps. McCoy did 23 reps. If you're going to separate two guys that are pretty equal, and I understand McCoy, quick, penetrator, great technique. You look at a bull rusher like Ndamukong Suh, who can push the pocket, John. I think it's a little bit underrated as a pass rusher coming out of college.
Well, we expect those guys to go 2-3. We shall see. Detroit is on the clock. That's McCoy backstage. As far as the Detroit Lions went from no wins to 2 wins last year under new coach Jim Schwartz. They had Matt Stafford last year as the #1 overall pick. Now do they get a guy in the middle on the other side of the ball to the commissioner?
With the second pick in the 2010 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Ndamukong Suh, defensive tackle, Nebraska.
The Lombardi and Outland Trophy winner from Nebraska, taken by the Detroit Lions. They had a rally during the week, and apparently the whole crowd was going just like they did in New York. Suh. So they listened to the fans, and, well, maybe they might have seen that Big 12 championship game clip when he threw the center over his shoulder to get the quarterback. That might have been helpful.
Well, you know, I think last year they got their cornerstone offensively in Matthew Stafford. Now they get their cornerstone defensively with Ndamukong Suh. You know, Mel talked about his versatility. I think that he can play on the end. He can play on the tackle. Many have compared him to Richard Seymour. I think he has those same kind of skills. I think he's going to help them stop the run. Detroit gave up, and this is the only stat you need to know, more touchdowns than any other team in the NFL last year. So, as Coach said about that first pick, this team just got a whole lot better when they made this pick.
Another guy compared to is Bryant Young. Tremendous first step at defensive tackle. Coach Bo Pelini in Nebraska asked Ndamukong, look, you're going to stand up, face up your offensive tackles, and you're going to play the run first. And is going to slow you down to try to get to the passer, but he has tremendous first step. And I, as a quarterback, can tell you, if you can press the pocket back and collapse it time after time after time, think of Gilbert Brown, the years that he played for the Packers. How many times did I have to put up with that collapsing in the pocket? This is a guy that will affect the pass rush with just his pure strength, let alone if he starts to use that first step and develops some pass rushing techniques, which they did not ask him to do in college. This is tremendous upside.
And he's going to press the pocket, too. He's going to push it. I mean, I'm not saying he's a great three-technique pass rusher, but he's going to press the pocket.
Number one on your board, Mel, isn't he?
He was. And I'll tell you, his 85 total tackles, higher than any defensive tackle, more than any defensive tackle in 25 years. The only one had more was Cortez Kennedy, 87 total tackles a year before he entered the National Football League.
Well, and Cortez Kennedy, one of those top 10 defensive tackle picks. You don't hit home runs on him a lot. Richard Seymour, yes. Cortez Kennedy, now that's almost 20 years ago, and maybe Ndamukong Suh. He is with our Susie Culver. Suze?
And Ndamukong, you were on the phone for a pretty long time. Who made the call and what was said?
Oh, it was a bunch. I got to talk to all the owners and all the GMs and presidents. So it was a collaboration of me being able to speak to everybody in the office.
And what was the most powerful thing said?
They're very excited for me to come, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. I know that the great Detroit fans are looking forward to me, and I'm looking forward to them.
When the dream becomes reality, how does it feel?
It's amazing. It feels good. It has those tingles that come down your body. It's amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, Susie, thank you. And Ndamukong means House of Spears. And the Detroit Lions, defensive coach Jim Schwartz, hope that they just drafted a House of Spears as they move forward.
They've really found some tough times, sort of mirroring what the city has gone through, but just they've made some really good picks.
Really have, and you look at what the whole body of work of what they've done since Jim Schwartz has come in to take over as a head coach of the football team. Van den Bosch, you're bringing energy to the football team with Kyle Van den Bosch, and Ndamukong Suh, you're bringing energy and talent.
I think Mort summed it up best. There is optimism in Detroit for the first time in a long time, and we're optimistic that you'll stay with us as we continue to plow through round 4 of the draft. Ndamukong Suh, his name translates into House of Spears. Coach, a lot of people, when you looked at Gerald McCoy or Ndamukong Suh, there were some people that thought perhaps in the defense that you play, McCoy might have been a better fit. In the end, what made Ndamukong Suh, in your opinion, the right choice for the Lions?
Well, I think being able to do something and being asked to do something are two different things. And from a standpoint, he was asked to do something different in his scheme. He was asked to play two-gap. He was asked to control players at the line of scrimmage. He wasn't asked to penetrate. It wasn't that he couldn't do it. It was just what he was asked to do in a scheme. And you don't want to hold, a scheme against a player. We thought he's a very strong player. He can rush the passer. He can defend the run. He's a guy that helps make our corners better. He also helps make our run defense better by not having to put a safety in the box as much. We thought he was a unique talent, and we didn't worry about what scheme he played in college.
Who's the number 1 guy in what's his grade in this draft?
Ndamukong Suh was number 1 this year.
What'd you give him, a 9? What was the grade? Yeah,
I can tell you right here.
Got the book?
Got it right here. Defensive tackle, and Ndamukong Suh was a 9.5.
What, 9.5?
9.5. Why? Because defensive tackles historically, you saw a couple up there. Steve Empton, remember Big Daddy Wilkinson?
Never
along the way, you go back to a lot of defensive tackles that have gone early, have not been out.
Sullivan.
Yeah, I want to be a little more conservative with Suh and McCoy this year just for that reason.
Give me your idea and perspective on who do you think the big winners have been, not just today, but through the entire 3-day process.
All right, I'm going to throw out the Detroit Lions. I think Jim Schwartz has done a really nice job of molding this football team. We can go back to last year, the acquisition of Matthew Stafford. But I like what they've done in this draft. And you get an Ndamukong Suh, a guy that is a lead pipe, be a solid player.